What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Ryan, your DIY guy. If you're new here, welcome. Go ahead and like and subscribe down below so you don't miss out on any of this exciting content. Today we're building a retainer wall, as you can see behind me, so stay tuned so you can catch everything from A to Z on how you can do it yourself. Here's a view of the area. As you can see, it undulates quite significantly from the left to the right and the top to the bottom. On the left hand side, in fact, it is less steep, but on the right hand side there's a significant dip from the top where the railing is all the way towards us, and that's about 500 to a meter difference, so quite significant. The homeowner wanted to level out this area to make it a more usable space, and so in order to do that we had to create a retaining wall. Now you can see there's a patch of grass that's been mowed out. This was the initial width and the shape of the wall, but the homeowner then decided to extend it by a meter. Keep in mind, this does have an impact on the quantity of soil that you'll have to backfill, quantity of materials, etc. So even if you're just moving out by a couple of centimeters or a meter, there'll be a consequence to that. And we saw that in this project as well, which we'll touch on a bit later on. So we got on with the foundations, and that meant we had to trench out all of the sod grass where we had laid the spray paint out. And we in fact repurposed all of the sod and soil that we excavated. As you can see, we've pushed it on the inside of the area because we're going to be backfilling there anyway. Now the trench was dug out about 15 to 20 centimeters deep all along the area that was demarcated. We came across a few pipes and so on, but fortunately nothing was disrupted or broken, and that ran all the way to the other end. Once our foundation was trenched out, we could go ahead and lay the concrete. This day wasn't particularly hot, but if it is, you want to wet down the area beforehand, and then you can mix up your concrete and then simply pour it in and tamp it down just for an even lay of the concrete. Once we had all the concrete in place, we leveled out as best as possible and then tamped down just to bring the cream to the top and allow the water to be wicked away through evaporation so that it can cure out quite strongly, ready for the retainer wall. Speaking of which, we had a tough time finding a similar brick because there is obviously a lot of production constraints given the pandemic, but we managed to find a couple of supplies at Buco hardware. So we managed to get those supplies in, which was as close as possible to the existing walls that were on the property. So we wheeled all those in and then got started with our foundation layer or roller course. And the roller course really just establishes the elevation or the correct height in order for you to build up from there. Here we are establishing our profile, which will just provide us with a level guide on how to build a retaining wall. Given that it is approximately 30 meters long, we want to make sure that it is level right across from the one side to the other. And here you can see the roller course going down, and that's laid vertically so that you can establish the correct height. And then from there on, you can start building pretty normally, which is a staggered pattern of the bricks laying flat as you see over here. Now we've got both of the colleagues working together, one working on the inner wall and the other working on the outer wall, and that just helps the production line for the building of the wall to go much faster. So they've mixed up a batch of cement and then started laying out the bricks, and you can see they've got brick supplies close to the area where they're actually constructing. So it just helps the process run a lot smoother. So keep that in mind when you're building. You don't want to be walking up and down to get your building materials. Let them be close to the site so that they are on hand. Here's a look at the reinforcement that we're going to be using. Given that we are building a retaining wall, we want to hold back the earth behind it, as well as any water coming from the heavens. So we are using Brickforce. This is a NHBRC certified Brickforce for a double layered brick wall. That's our National Housing and Building Regulation Council. So you can see we place the Brickforce in between a layer of bricks every 2 or 3 courses up, and that just creates a reinforcement, very much like rebar in a foundation, but a bit lighter, of course. So you can see we've mixed up and laid it out, goes across both sets of bricks, and then you simply continue building as normal. Once it cures up, it will add a lot of tensile strength to the cement, which makes it much stronger. Whilst the retaining wall is going up, I'm going to go ahead and prepare what we call, funny enough, Deadman. Yep, I know that was quite an odd one, but the Deadman plays a critical role in the strength of the retaining wall. And I'll show you how and why in a second. But basically, I'm taking a CCA treated timber post and cutting it on one end slightly shorter, whilst keeping the other side much longer, as you can see over here. And I'm marking out and drilling a few pilot holes and then enlarging those holes to receive a bolt, which will then secure the shorter piece onto the longer piece, and that thus creates a T-shaped structure. Now the T-shaped structure will then be secured on the inside of the retaining wall, and when we backfill with the soil and the rocks, etc., that'll create weight onto this Deadman and so hold the retaining wall back from collapsing or failing. So pretty interesting design, but pretty cool. Now you can see the shape of the Deadman. It is a T-shape, and we're going to now attach it to the retaining wall using a truss hanger, and for that we are securing it onto the bricks with a few fasteners and then simply attaching the Deadman onto that truss hanger so that it can secure. And then we'll see a bit later on, once we're ready to start backfilling, all the soil and rocks will go on top of the Deadman piece, and that will create a hold from the retaining wall ever collapsing.
Perfect.
With our Deadman now in place and our retaining wall coming up, we can turn our attention onto the drainage, because before the water could flow freely, but now it is going to need to be diverted away. And for that, we're using a waterform U-shaped channel drain, and you can see we're connecting some PVC pipes in order to get it to the right elevation, which is the top of the wall, and that's pretty much the finished height. Here's a view of the hole saw kit that we're using, and that just helps us drill out a hole for the channel drain in order to drain through the PVC pipes. Now, if you want to know more about the waterform channel drain and its installation, click the link above. This is a full video on how to actually install the channel drain, and there'll be more details there if you are curious. We're at the halfway mark and the project is moving along beautifully. So you can see we've got the retaining wall built to the midway point, and that is pretty much the finished height which you see over there. We've also got drainage already gone in, as well as our Deadman to increase the strength, and don't forget our brick force in between each of the layers. Here's a view of the cement work that we've cleaned out. As you can see, we've used a pointing tool to scrape it off and neaten it up in comparison to this area which is still to be finished. But you guys are gonna have to stick around for part 2 of this 2-part series to see how this retaining wall gets finished with all of the backfill, the steps, the new sod grass, and everything else that comes along with building this retaining wall. I hope you've got a ton of value already. If you did, please go ahead, smash that thumbs up button, and definitely give us a shout in the comments just to say what you've learned, or if you have any questions, let us know. We'd love to give you some feedback and also get back to you. And if you're new to the channel, please go ahead and subscribe. We'd love to share even more content with you, or go ahead and share this with someone who might find it valuable as well. Take care, and we'll see you next time on Nail and Screw.